The State of the Wet Tropics report for 2015-2016 identified habitat loss and fragmentation, decline in specialized species, and invasive species among the current threatening processes in the wet tropics region of North Queensland. Habitat fragmentation has a profound negative impact on countless species across the globe through loss of habitat and impacts on gene flow, among others. Reducing habitat fragmentation through the effective use of wildlife corridors has been proposed as a management strategy for minimizing the impacts of climate change. Another product of the increased habitat fragmentation observed in the wet tropics region is a decline in the range and population size of the southern cassowary. This decrease in range and population size is not only detrimental to the cassowary, but also the numerous species of plant that rely on the cassowary to disperse their seeds. Cassowaries are also under threat from dogs in the wet tropics, both directly through predation and indirectly through modification of foraging behaviors. To combat the threats identified, 2 projects of interest were undertaken. In an effort to reduce habitat fragmentation, Donaghy's Corridor Nature Refuge was created, and to combat the decline in specialized species, a cassowary rehabilitation facility was established by Rainforest Reserves Australia. Lake Burine National Park has been isolated from other protected areas, specifically the larger Wooroonaran National Park, since the 1940s due to land clearing for grazing. As a consequence, a decline in genetic diversity in small mammal populations has been documented, and the southern cassowary is locally extinct within Lake Burine National Park, among other effects. To restore connectivity between the 2 national parks, restoration plantings were undertaken from 1995 to 1998 on land donated by the Donaghy family to establish Donaghy's Corridor habitat linkage. The project was managed by Queensland Parks and Wildlife and involved substantial community participation, especially through the partner group Trees for the Evelyn and Atherton Tablelands, or TREAT. This project had a ripple effect, generating significant interest and increased awareness and understanding of the broader biological and ecological importance of connectivity within the local community, and leading to the subsequent establishment of other rainforest linkages in the Atherton Tablelands. Genetic and mark recapture data gathered since the development suggests that the corridor has achieved its primary aim in facilitating species dispersal between the 2 national parks, and Donaghy's Corridor was designated a nature refuge and given IUCN Status 4 in 1999. The Back on Track Species Prioritisation Framework was developed in 2006 by the Environmental Protection Agency to prioritise Queensland's native species to guide conservation, management and recovery. Cassowaries have been ranked as critical priority under the Back on Track framework due to the possibility of extinction and the consequences of their extinction. The Back on Track framework increases the capacity of government and communities to make decisions about where on-ground actions and investment should be focused to support priority species, and has empowered non-governmental groups such as the Cassowary Recovery Team and Rainforest Reserves Australia to develop plans, enact on-ground works, and facilitate community involvement in an effort to help save cassowary populations. A specific objective of the Cassowary Recovery Program, generated by the Cassowary Recovery Team, is rescue, rehabilitation and release of cassowaries injured or orphaned through vehicular strikes, dog attacks or other incidents. To achieve this end, the Tablelands Cassowary Facility was opened in Lake Burine National Park after approval from the Department of the Environment and Heritage in February 2017 and included a fenced area to exclude dogs and pigs. Now, you might have noticed that both of these projects were undertaken in proximity to Lake Burine National Park. You may have also noticed that one project involved facilitating dispersal through connectivity, and one involved excluding species through the creation of a barrier. And by now the title of this presentation should start making sense. That's right, the fence to protect rehabilitating cassowaries has created a barrier to faunal dispersal, and hence nullified Donaghy's Corridor. The double mesh fencing erected for the Tablelands Cassowary Facility blocks the corridor to terrestrial mammals, most reptiles and amphibians, fish and other aquatic wildlife including platypus, and potentially cassowaries. In February of 2017, when the Tablelands Cassowary Facility was approved, environmental legislation was managed by 2 separate departments of the Queensland Government. Species and ecosystem protections were managed through the Department of Environment and Heritage, while national parks and protected areas were managed through the Department of National Parks, Sports and Racing. This contextual failure of protected area management could have been a result of the separation of and a lack of communication between the governmental bodies associated with the 2 projects. A positive note is that these 2 departments have since been reconciled to form the Department of Environment and Science. It is also possible that the Back on Track framework contributed to the scenario by reducing regulatory involvement in conservation actions. In summary, both of these projects discussed could have been success stories for community involvement, education empowerment, as well as environmental goals, had there been more contextual understanding from the management bodies.